Hi everyone, I'm Scott Schneider. This is Stereo Niche. Hey, this week we're going to catch up on all of the reviews I've done for receivers, amps, and preamp combos since last year. All right, so I think this is going to be a really interesting video. I did this last year after I did about 8 reviews. And when I started this last year, the very first unit I reviewed was a Pioneer SX1010, mainly because it's, quite a historical unit and set that first 100 watt mark. And then after that, I think I did the Sansui AU20000, and then went on. It was a Marantz 2270, Yamaha CR1020, I think it was. But some really fantastic units. But since that time, I've done 12 more reviews. And so I've covered some other separates, like from companies like Kyocera, some other Sansui models, quite a number of others. So I thought it was time to come back and take a look at where do things stack up now. So let's get into that. I'm going to go through a quick review of each one very quickly because there's 12 of them. And then at the end, we'll take a look at how do things rank now based on the points, and then also how do things stack up as far as power is concerned, and give you a quick sort of that. So be kind of interesting to see how things stack up. So let's get into it. All right, so I kicked it off with the Kenwood KR6600. And this was a unit made from 76 to 78, so the latter part of the 70s. And it's one of the lower end units of that series. I'll say mid-range units at 56 watts. This one has also a 4 ohm load, which is a nice thing to have. It doesn't have a lot of power, but it does at least have 4 ohms. It has 2 phonos, and it also has 3 additional auxiliaries that you can connect things with. Has a wood case, and also, and this is also kind of unusual, it can handle 3 different sets of speakers. So that's kind of unusual for, I would say, a mid-size, a mid-range receiver. All total had 195 points. Moving on to Sansui. Had a Sansui 881. This is the top of the line for that series. These were made from 74 to 76. It retailed for $530. It came in at 60 watts. Now, this was the early 70s. Didn't have, a lot of power back then. This is the line that preceded the 9090, the 9090 dB. Can also handle a 4 ohm load. Has only 1 phono though. That was sort of a drawback of this particular one. Being top of the line, I kind of thought it would have 2. But it does have 4 additional inputs. So you can hook up quite a few other peripherals to it and sources and bring some other tunes into it. Has a nice wood cab on it, and also can handle 3 sets of speakers. All total, it came in at 205 points. Next up was the Technics SA800. Now this is the model that's just below the monster SA1000. So this was made from 78 to 79, retailed for $800. This comes in with 125 watts of power, and it also has 4 ohms as well, 4 ohm load, so that's very nice. Has only 1 phono though. I thought that was kind of interesting. You can hook up 3 additional inputs to it. Has power meters. That's one of the things when you get up in the bigger units, you start to see things like power units. These have those interesting LEDs. Has pre-out ability to separate pre-out and in on it as well. That's a nice feature to have. Has a wood cabinet, and also can accommodate 2 sets of speakers. So all total, it came in at 230 points. Next up was a smaller, on the lower end side of the X700 series, the X700. This is the G4700 from Sansui. These were made from 80 to 81. Retailed at that time for $430. So it's on the low end. This one had 50 watts of power, which most of these, that's the low end. So it started at 50 watts and then really went up. If you're familiar with the 9700, went all the way up to 200 watts in that particular line. Doesn't have a 4-ohm capability though. Has only one phono. And let's see, has 2 auxiliary tapes. Can handle, does have power meters. That's kind of interesting. Has a wood cabinet and it can handle 2 sets of speakers. That's pretty cool. But it only came in at 145 points. So it didn't have a lot of other features that some of these others have on it. Next up, Yamaha. These are some separates, the C4 and M4. These are 80 to 81 as far as manufacturing years. They were pretty expensive. As a set, they retailed for around $1,200. Power, 120 watts. So they packed a punch. It can handle 4-ohm loads. Has 3 phonos. That's quite a few. That's kind of unusual to have 3. Can also handle MC cartridges. Also something kind of unusual and very nice. Has 4 additional auxiliary inputs, so you can hook up quite a number of sources to them. Power meters, pre-out and in, and then 2 sets of speakers. So this came in pretty stiff at 270 points. Now the Sansui, another set of separates here. This was the C77 and B77. And these also manufactured 80 to 81, so same time frame as the Yamahas. These were, not too expensive though at $500. Only 60 watts in power, so not powerhouses here. I think these were a value brand, or a value model line, I should say. Had a 4-ohm spec though, has 1 phono, but it also had MC functionality, which is kind of interesting for, I would say more of an entry-level separates. Has 4 auxiliary inputs, so you could put lots of sources in there. Has power meters, has, of course, pre-out, pre-in because it's separates. And then it handles 2 speaker sets. So all told, came in at 235 points, which is pretty good for what was considered sort of a low-end value line of separates. Next up is a big receiver. It's the Marantz 2330B. These were made from 79 to 80, and this retailed for $800 at the time. If you're familiar with the nomenclature, this is 130 watts of power for the Marantz. Has a 4-ohm spec, can handle 2 phonos, an additional 3 additional sources as well. Has the opportunity or the capability here of separating the pre and the amplifier. Has a wood cab, in this case, and that was optional, but I did give it points for that. And 2 sets of speakers. So in total, 220 watts. The next up is another set of separates from Sansui. Now this is a higher end line from the prior separates. This is the C2101 and the B2101. Manufactured 79 to 80, and these retailed for $1,500. So these were, pretty far up there, not inexpensive. Had 200 watts for this particular amplifier. Has a 4-ohm spec, can handle 2 phonos and also MC cartridges, and 7 additional inputs for this. So quite a number. You could hook up just really anything to this thing. Has power meters, has pre-out in, of course, because they're separates, and you can hook up an additional 2 sets of speakers. So it's a powerhouse, and it really comes fully loaded with 7 inputs. It really has a high score of 310. So really breaches that 300 point mark. All right, so next up is the McIntosh MA61 integrated amp. So far, the first McIntosh units I've actually reviewed, but these were made from 1972 to 1979. They retailed for $700. Has an output of 70 watts per channel. This has 2 phonos. You can add additional 5 sources to it. Has pre-outs and in on it, as well as a wood cabinet option, and it can handle 2 speaker sets. Came in at a total of 205 points for the features that I rate. Now there's a lot of other features that are sort of unique to McIntosh that I didn't put in I don't put in my ratings here, but if you'd like to see those, go check out the full review I did several months ago. Up next is the Concept 11.0. These were really cool receivers. Pacific Stereo, if you're familiar with them. I talked a lot more about Pacific Stereo in the separate review video, but very cool set of, line of receivers. These were made from 77 to 82 is what I sort of came to find out later. Retail, what I was able to capture was $655. It has 110 watts, and that's what's really cool about Concepts. So this was the second to the top of the line. The one above it was a 16.5. Can handle 4 ohms, has 1 phono, and 2 auxiliaries. So it doesn't have a lot of features, but it has very good specs. Has power meters, has pre-out and in, and can handle 3 sets of speakers. And in all total, 220 points. Moving on, I came in and looked at a very interesting receiver from Fisher. Now these were made prior to the latter part of the 60s. So this is the Fisher 800T, which is a solid state model. Many are familiar with the 802 model, but this is the solid state model, and it retailed at that time for $530. Has 65 watts. Doesn't have a huge amount of features so it has 1 phono and 2 auxiliary tape. But what's cool about it is that this has the presets for the tuner. So this is a very tuner-centric receiver. That's the market, and that was the buyer that they were going after. If you were heavy into listening to radio, it has these interesting presets where you could push them, kind of ahead of its time. And so that's really the feature set that really sold this unit. But as far as my point system goes, I don't really give any points for tuners, so I'm just trying to point that out separately. So it has a wood cab, and it can handle 2 sets of speakers, and it came in at 125 points. Next up is the Sansui AUTU 7700. Now this was their line of separates, not quite as up the chain as far as their professional line, but this is another line of separates that they had. This was retailed as a set for $730. This set, the amp has 54 watts of power, can handle 4 ohms, can have 2 phonos, 5 additional inputs, no power meters, but it obviously separates. You can separate the pre, and then it handles 2 sets of speakers. So it totaled in at 230 points. So the most recent one I did was the Sansui 9090. Just did that a few weeks ago. These were made from 74 to 76, and this retailed for $750. Now the 9090 is the top of the line for the XOXO series. And if you know the line, it's the 8080, 7070, 6060, etc. So this particular unit has 110 watts, can handle 4 ohms, has 1 phono though. I always thought that was kind of interesting. It's top of the line. I love this unit, but only 1 phono, which is really fine for most people anyway. 3 auxiliaries, has power meters, has pre-outs, separation, has a nice wood cab on it, and can handle 3 sets of speakers. So lots of features, although it only handles 1 phono. It does have lots of other features here. Total points, 250. Well, there you go. Quite a few units since I last did this summary, but kind of most of those were in the 70s time frame. I'd say latter part of the 70s, but there were some from the early 80s as well as the late 60s time frame. The Fisher 800T, very interesting unit. If you're looking for something that is very tuner-centric, take a look at that. It's kind of an interesting feature set with push buttons and things. I thought it was kind of ahead of its time, clearly for someone with lots of great radio programming in their market at the time. Lots of other things. The Yamaha separates, very much a standout as well. Very feature rich. Of course, they have just about everything included, which sort of mimics the receiver from the last time I did this. The Yamaha 1020, I think, was the one that scored the most points. So Yamahas tend to come in with the whole kitchen sink, included. A lot of Sansui units this time. The Technics, that one surprised me a bit, actually, when I was doing the review. I thought it would actually score a little bit higher, but came in pretty well, I guess. Great units from Sansui, the 881, the Marantz. I have a lot of Marantz. I probably should have thrown a few more in there since then, but I did do the 2330, has plenty of good power, so it'd be interesting to see where does that one rank as far as power ratings are concerned. Quite interesting. So if we take a look at where do things come in as far as points, it comes in with the Sansui 2101 B101 separates with 310 points. Now pushed up there because it really has everything in there. 2 phonos, has MC capability. Look at this, 7 sources. That's the most by far of any other models I've reviewed. So that's what kind of pushed it over the edge. Really does have just about everything, with the exception of a wood case, but in this case it didn't need it. But that's what gets it over 300 mark, which was far and above everything else. But coming in next, another Sansui unit, that AU 20000, fully featured integrated amp. And this was made from 76 to 80. So this is that Sansui professional line. Quite a few years younger, or older I should say, and still comes in at 275 points at second. So very much a standout unit, especially from, given it came from the time frame it did. Yamaha, the separates here, C4, M4, also great units, coming in at 270 points. Another Sansui, the 9090, which we just talked about, 250 points, tied with the prior leader of the ratings here, the CR 1020. Also similar time frame as far as manufacturing was concerned, except the 9090 has quite a bit more watts to it. After that, it's the standout and very well-known Pioneer SX 1010. That's a historical unit in the fact that it was the first receiver at 100 watts. 240 points, very respectable for a unit made in 1974. So it really stands out for that amount of features and for the power that it comes in with. The Sansui C77, B77, these are those lower end units, but came in with 235. Followed with the group here at all tied, the Sansui AUTU 7700, the Technics SA800. I'll be honest, I thought the SA800 would come in a little higher, but because it really only has so few phonos and auxiliary, it sort of didn't give it the extra points that the other ones got. So kind of interesting to see where these things line up. I'm going to keep, of course, my list going here and report on it periodically to see where things go. It's becoming a bit of an eye chart, so kind of hard to see where things are if I continue to add to this. So I may have to start doing top 10 or review the ones I've just done and then look at just a top 10 or something. But I'll figure that out. But at the moment, I think this might be the maximum number I can get on a screen that's visible for you. So let's take another look and another view here at where do things rank as far as power is concerned. And it's the Sansui 2101, B2101 again, coming in with 200 watts. That's another reason it bumped it up to the highest points, is it has the most watts. But after that, the Sansui AU 20000 still in there, 160 watts. But it's the Sony in there at 150, and the Kyocera in there at 150 as well. And that Marantz, the Marantz moves up quite a bit with the 2330 with 130 watts, followed then by the Technics SA800. So they came in, they moved up as far as rankings here. They moved up the line quite a bit due to their power ratings. So you can see that where everything else ranks there. There's quite a few in the above 100 watts mark there. But I'll add quite a few more in the next several months. We'll start taking a look at where new ones come in, but I thought you'd like to see now where things stack up, and you have now 20 different receivers and amps here to take a look at and sort of get an idea of how they stack up compared to each other. So if you'd like to get more detail into any of those, because I can't show them all here, it would be very much an eye chart. It would be too small to actually put on the screen. But if you'd like to see more detail on where the points are, go check out the individual reviews and you can see them there. If there's anything you've seen in my collection that's from the overview video that I've done of the showroom and a lot of the other part of my collection, if there's something in there you'd like to see, send me a note. Maybe I'll see if I can work it up into another review. But like I said, I think I'll start looking at doing some reviews on some of the, I guess, smaller manufacturers that weren't around as long. SAE, for example, I think that would be kind of interesting. I've got some crown separates and some other things that are kind of unique. Maybe I'll do some of those. I need to do another Pioneer. It's time for them as well. So I'll start trying to get them into the mix and give us more variety to look at. So I hope you enjoyed that this week. I thought it was kind of time to go back and summarize things and review where we've been. So if you like that, give us a thumbs up. You don't want to miss that next video. Hit subscribe. And of course, if you want to be notified, hit that bell. That'll make sure that you don't miss it. So thank you all for tuning in. We'll see you next time.